What if thought leaders from around the university came together to discuss state-of-the-art remedies to 21st century challenges? Florida Atlantic University's faculty are pioneering education through cutting-edge solutions such as artificial intelligence, authentic assessment, and active learning. Join us as our faculty forge new paths to the future of higher education. From the Center for Online and Continuing Education, this is Faculty Lounge Live.
Hello and welcome to Faculty Lounge Live. My name is Miguel Palacios and I'm an instructional designer here at the Center for Online and Continuing Education. And today I have the pleasure of being joined by Dr. Michelle Vaughan, Associate Professor in Curriculum Instruction for the College of Education. And joining us online virtually, we have Dr. Candy Wilson, who is our Interim Associate Dean of Research and Scholarship and a professor for the College of Nursing. Now, today we have these two together joining us due to their collaboration in the space of artificial intelligence use in education, curriculum development, and research. And we are hoping to continue that discussion with you all here today, deciding the different ways that AI can be integrated into educational practices and observing some of the challenges and successes that have occurred along the way. So without further ado, thank you, Dr. Vaughan, and thank you, Candy Wilson, for joining us today.
Hi.
So to kick us off, I want to start the discussion by asking how each of you were first introduced to AI and what kind of led you to starting using these tools in your work practice.
Okay. Should I kick off?
Yeah, we can start with you, Dr. Vaughan.
I think I first became aware of AI through my own children, who are teenagers, and watching them go through the K-12 experience and seeing what tools them and their friends were sharing amongst themselves to assist with homework. I'll call it assisting with homework to protect those. But being able to see the type of technology that was out there, and especially as a parent and a parent who's also a teacher, using it to be able to remind myself of what things they were learning and how other people were teaching it was really valuable. So that's the first time I saw it. And then as a professor in the College of Education, my students are teachers. So that was level one. And level two was really as my students were starting to bring stories of AI from their own classrooms in, it really kind of came up through K-12, like into higher ed. And then it became kind of like a blaring alarm, like I better figure this out and I better see what it can do. And right around then was when chat exploded. Yeah. So the timing was perfect to try to just get on and figure it out because I knew it was coming up fast through K-12.
Yeah, that's awesome. You were kind of getting both sides of that from both teacher and parent, and then also what your students were doing. How about you, Dr. Wilson? What ways have you started using AI and what kind of led to that introduction?
Well, what led me to it was in nursing is definitely AI in healthcare is a big topic, and I originally got introduced to it through research and using AI to help with writing and so forth. And of course, in teaching, it came up at least in the circles I was reading, more of concern about cheating, concern about integrity and so forth. And honestly, my first stop was Dr. Vaughan. I went to her faculty learning circle, I think last year at this time. I can't remember exactly when it was. And she's been kind of my go-to for a lot of information and so forth. So to share this stage with her has been such an honor to begin with. And but just continuing to look into ways I can incorporate AI into my classroom and curriculum and thinking about where I want my students to go going forward in their careers.
I think that's what we were kind of discussing before we went live, was that it's a community thing and we're all going through it together. And I think having a partner or a thought partner is really important in this process because it allows us to be a little bit more open. No worries. So to follow that up, AI is developing rapidly and we're seeing it grow at an exponential rate. How has your usage of AI changed since you have begun utilizing it and playing around with it?
I think for me, I kind of just entered it into an exploratory phase, like what can it do for me personally before I went into the how can I use it for my own teaching or research? I think research came last for me.
Yeah.
But for me, I think I started as a curriculum developer with, let me put all the aspects of my curriculum into Copilot or chat and see what pops out.
Yeah.
And that kind of led me to thinking about, okay, what can AI do just as well as me? Or like, what areas do I need to kind of rethink about how I teach this? So that was really valuable for me.
Okay,
Yeah.
excellent. And how about you, Dr. Wilson?
Agree. One thing that you bring up, Dr. Vaughan, and I really appreciate is the thinking and the thinking through, and I think that's really made me think differently as an educator in how do I unfold or incorporate AI into my curriculum, and to be a little more to ask the right questions in what do I want, what do I want AI, the support of AI in from my students. So thinking about those low stakes assignments that I can have them use AI to, help with the discussion board, or, and then sharing the prompts, helping them become better prompt consumers or prompt generators in helping them think about their discussion board. So I know I kind of pulled the thread from what I'm doing to what the students are doing, but at the same time, it really is a lot of thinking differently, for sure.
Yeah, and I definitely think that the thinking differently is so important. But I love that we both kind of touched on curriculum development, and that actually brings me to my first set of questions. How have you approached incorporating it? You kind of touched on it, that you had just really put all of your curriculum into it.
Right.
But how has your approach to utilizing AI changed your curriculum development process?
Yeah, I think, especially because I teach teachers, right? So it's kind of multi-level, because I'm looking at it like they're learning from me, but I'm also thinking about how they're going to use it in their classrooms with their students. So there's a huge modeling aspect for me in any of my graduate education courses. So I've tried to really intentionally create spaces for modeling and for collaboration.
Yeah.
And I teach in an online program, so that can be challenging in and of itself, but using synchronous Zoom sessions, using discussion boards where I say, hey, go to AI and put this in and report back and then tell me what you think about it, trying to find ways that we can incorporate it that way. But I find that with any of my students, they're bringing a range of AI experience.
Yeah.
So I have to be able to, as an educator, kind of hold the reins in that space. Yeah. Because I want to be mindful of those who are coming with hesitancy or coming with distaste or just an unknown fear, and those who have it like fully incorporated into their curriculum already.
Yeah.
So the only way as an educator to be able to differentiate for all of that is to really model and kind of be forefront in this space. So a lot of modeling, and I've said this to Dr. Wilson before, like, by no means am I an AI expert, but I am a curriculum expert. So like, if I can just think about it, like, how would this work as any other type of technology would work in the curriculum? Let's have the educator get a hold of it, because I can be mindful of good practices, but allow my students to lead and allow them to see what works and what doesn't work. So that's been really helpful.
And that also, I think that allows for a little bit of discovery in there as well,
Totally.
Where it's like you can learn both ways. Like, you can teach the students how to comfortably navigate this new tool that's a little bit daunting, and then you can take from them some new innovative ways to practice it yourself.
Yeah, and just knowledge of the tools, right?
Yeah.
Because like every semester there's a new one. So as soon as I get caught up on something else is launching, and they are definitely more in-tuned than I am. So I have to be able to gather that information from them if I'm going to like try to stay abreast of all of the AI tools out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, how about you, Dr. Wilson? What ways has AI changed the way that you develop curriculum throughout your teaching and your process of instructing students?
But some of the things that Dr. Vaughan brought up, I thought were very, I think, important to highlight in some of the things that I've applied as well. One for sure is modeling. Being able to demonstrate the use of AI and the safe use of AI, safe meaning protecting them from plagiarism, etc. That's everybody's concern, of course, from the integrity standpoint. But also, one thing that I found too, just like you said, Dr. Vaughan, I mean, different levels of comfort, an appreciation for AI and what it can do for the graduate students, because I teach in the doctoral program, so I'm kind of sounds very similar to your journey as well, as far as application goes. And I found it interesting that I, being a novice in AI and a very much a student of AI, I'm trying to be the expert in the room and bringing everybody to that same level of use of AI. And when I say that too, for my assignments, it's been mostly, editing, refining research questions, thinking how they can apply AI in developing a research grant, not necessarily to write the grant, but those pieces that they can at least have that um, zone of proximal development to have some sort of dialogue, because particularly when you think about writing research, which is again where I primarily teach, coming up with your research question is sometimes a challenge, that it does take time and it can take weeks to develop, but having the AI to have that back and forth with how to create that question to really represent what it is that they want to study does take time and takes comfort in using the AI. And again, as I'm learning it too, and trying to, reassure them, and how to apply it.
Excellent. I love that. And you kind of started to touch on research, and I'd really like to kind of highlight you first with using AI in research, because you are our resident research expert in the room right now. So I wanted to ask, how has AI changed the way that you conduct your research and the way that you approach your research in the field of education?
Oh, that is an ever-changing field. Oh my goodness. It's almost daunting to keep up with the resources that we have available as researchers. I am probably once I try to once a month read a book on teaching research with AI, something. I try to do something with AI, trying to stay current, which is I don't think enough time. But some of the things that I will list here that I've used, and I'll mention which ones I've used, but other ones that are out there, I've read from a book called Teaching with AI. That's my last book that I read just this past month, from Vaughan and Watson. And one of the things that I've just recently downloaded was called Research Rabbit, and it will search either Semantic Scholar or PubMed databases to help keep you current on the publications out there on their topic. There's one called Explain Paper that will untangle and clarify those complex papers that we have to read, particularly if you're a student and you're trying to, understand something that's very complex and have something that can break it down in a different level for comprehension. Um, um, I have my notes here. I'm looking at some of them. Let's see. I'm missing one other, and I'm so sorry I can't think of it. But again, that field is blossoming so fast, and a lot of these tools are free. And what I'm finding out too, if you use the free versions, you're part of the large language modeling for the software. So making students aware that when they put something out there, typically in the free versions, it may then be out there in modeling the language. So you want to make them aware that information is in the quote unquote public domain. And if they're really thinking about a research idea, they want to be careful then too of what they put out there, what their intellectual property they put out there to protect that idea. And so you may want to think about those paid versions that you can kind of set the public or not public, oh boy, see, I need AI. What word am I looking for? that the part of that, where it's out there in the public space. So hopefully the word will come to me later, but anyway,
Yeah, no, I really love the way that you engage that, because you said Research Rabbit, and that's actually a tool that I've actually played around with, and it's really just, I think we were kind of talking about it beforehand, where it's so much information to go through when you're conducting research and when you're looking through articles and journals and stuff like that. And it can just be so much cognitive overload for students. So having these tools to help sift through those resources at a faster rate is just beneficial. Now, it looks like we have a question from online, so I want to actually open it up and let our guests ask our question.
Hello, good afternoon, Professor Vaughan and Dr. Wilson. So we have a question here by Julie, and it says, as professionals in the field already significantly impacted by AI, could you share your thoughts on the essential AI-related skills your students need to develop for a workforce presentation? And additionally, how do you see these skills influencing their employability and career prospects in your respective fields?
Perfect. Who wants to lead that one? That's a great question.
I'll jump in a little bit because it's Dr. Wilson and I are from different fields, so I think it'll be nice to have both perspectives. I think I was just having this conversation with a colleague in the College of Education about what we have to teach students, to do with AI, because what we saw from working with our students is that they really need the what happens after AI skill set, right? Like after you get information and you're like, oh wow, that looks great, whether it's a lesson plan, whether it's a presentation, whatever it is that they're getting down, they need the ability to critically review it, to decide, to fact check it, right? And then to refine it, and also to cite it. So like those steps, I think, are the post I've got my information that we need to work on. And we can do that within coursework by front-loading the AI experience, having the AI experience be the assignment, the first part of the assignment, but part 2 of the assignment be, okay, now that you've got this, identify what things you need to change or what things you would keep, what things aren't worth keeping, what is the plan for making your refinements, and then go ahead and refine it and cite it. Yeah. So all of that stuff that happens afterwards, I think, is the skills that we need. Just like any type of digital literacy, right? You're looking at it critically, but in order to get them to bring those into the workforce, because you can be an expert on Copilot or ChatGPT, but like 5 years from now, that may not be the tool. That may not be the thing. So I think for the workforce, it's not a thing. It's a process. Yeah. It's an understanding that because the things change all the time.
Yeah, it has to be transferable to whatever comes next. Yeah. Absolutely. How about you, Dr. Wilson? I'd love to hear what your kind of skill set and what you're kind of putting into use to make sure that students are coming away with these skills.
Yeah, so one thing that I'm struck by, again, thinking of from a scientist standpoint, because, that's where my graduate nursing students will be, one day creating their own research and so forth. So I'm really struck by, too, what that AI is to white collar as robotics was to blue collar back, 20, 30, 50 years ago. So thinking about then how to use AI and use it effectively, kind of, I think exactly what you were saying, Dr. Vaughan, is to really think about the process rather than the what, but the how. And so, I think that when thinking about research and how AI will be used, it's fascinating. And I don't know, I'm trying to think about this in my world, and I've really been grappling with this thought. I belong to an AI group, and one thing that they said about 6 months ago in this group, that 85% of the jobs in 2030, we don't even know what they are yet because of the advancement, how fast AI is moving. So me as an educator, it has really struck me hard to think about how am I preparing students for those changes, and what does that mean for healthcare research, and what will be incorporated, what will evolve because of AI, and particularly I think of the writing and the development of research. And another interesting thing too was, we're always worried about hallucinations with AI because the student is still responsible for the work that they produce, whether they write it or the AI write it. it doesn't matter in my class. I mean, you as the author are responsible, as AI can't be the author. A person has to be the author. So one thing that I heard just yesterday was that those hallucinations or made up things that AI sometimes will throw into papers, what have you, we always in academia we worry about that, like, oh, that's a hallucination, that's something made up, that's not correct information. However, let the students think about those hallucinations, and recognize that they are hallucinations, that they're something made up, but that hallucination could be that gap, that's something that for the student then to think about that hallucination. Is that the next step? Did the AI create, the next evolution of the topic, if you will? So to embrace the hallucinations, first recognize, but embrace them and think about it. Either put it to the side or grow it, move it to that next level through thought and pursuing additional literature on the topic, if there is anything, or what have you, or thinking about from a theoretical perspective. Could that be that theoretical gap we need in science?
I think that, like, to Dr. Wilson's point too, if you look at AI as like another member of your research team, right? Not the lead, but like a member of your team. It can provide some valuable service as a team member, right? Because I do a lot of qualitative research, and so there's a lot of reading and coding and trying to create themes and all of this qualitative research. And while, I'll go through and do all of that, and it'll take me hours of my life, and that's fine, that's what I do. But I can then input all of that into, a chat or a Copilot and ask what they found as the themes. And that's like an inter-rater reliability. It's like a good check to say, oh, okay, they saw the same things I did, or maybe it was a little bit different, or why did they say it that way? And so it's nice in that way to use it as a check, because humans err all the time. Yeah. Right? In our research.
like as gap analysis goes, it's like it's impartial to anything that you've put forward. So,
right. Because we are bringing our own lenses to the research. Like, there's just no, two ways about that. So it is nice to have, I guess, different type of team member.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we talked up, is there something else that you would like to share, Dr. Wilson?
If you don't mind, really quick, because I love that you brought up qualitative research, because, I want to say 5 years ago, I had a student who was in informatics. I was teaching the paradigms of science, and she brought that up 5 years ago from a, constructivist, positivist, constructivist, all those paradigms of science that we have, and AI now being the next paradigm of science, possibly. And how do we think about qualitative or unstructured data? And one thing that the human is, it doesn't take the human out, and we, I think that's the important piece that we have to bring back to students, because in fact I had this conversation with a student just last week who did qualitative research, and bless her heart, she just threw it into Chat GPT and got some themes, and it was lacking the human piece of it, just in the text, just reading it. So that it really is important for us as educators to continue to tell and educate and model the role of the human still in those outputs of the AI, and putting it through that human experience.
Well, I actually really love that you just added that, because I was going to kind of pivot us into AI and student use. You both are very pro AI, and you're encouraging students to explore and play with it. But what are some observations and behaviors and performances that you have observed that have shifted since you've started to integrate AI into your curriculum and into the teaching that you do?
Yeah, I think we probably both have been teaching with technology for a long time, right? So I hesitate to say that it's AI specific, because it could just be technology specific, something new that you bring into your educational practice that shifts something, and then there's like a realignment and a settling back down when you make changes like that. But we talked about how all students, there's a technology adoption spectrum, right? So all students feel differently about anything that you bring in. Whether it's you're a fifth grade teacher and it's the calculator use, or whether it's, you're using an online textbook instead of actually reading the book in front of you. All of these little things people have opinions about. So you have to navigate your students' perceptions of whatever it is that you're bringing in. So that I think is important. I think from a curriculum perspective, I've seen that I like AI specifically for idea generation and creativity. We're only working with our brain normally, and so we're as kind of creative as our brain is able to be. And sometimes in teaching, that's limiting because we're pulling from our own experiences or what we've seen or what we've read, but there's like a whole world out there. And we only know our own perspective, our own culture, our own educational experience. So to be able to have somewhere to bounce ideas off of, or say, can you give me 15 different ways to assess this? Yeah. Can you give me 25 different ways to ask this question? And just to be able to see all these other ideas, it really pushes your brain to think more creatively because we're just thinking about it like that. So I've seen a growth in ideas in my teaching for myself and for my students. But that being said, there's still a lot of work to do in refinement of product.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Just making sure that we're using it for, to get brainstorming, idea generation, but that at the end, we're really taking that extra time that we've saved and applying it to really critically think about how to make it our own.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely want to pivot over and hear what you have to say about that, Dr. Wilson, and what shifts have you seen in your students as you've started to incentivize the use of AI?
Definitely curiosity in how they can think about using AI. And I just really think that I think from that curiosity standpoint would be the biggest piece. Um, uh, I'm going to pause there for a minute. Let me continue to think about answering that.
Yeah, no worries. I really will. I kind of want to turn back to what Dr. Vaughan said about ideation. I think that especially with the development of being able to talk to AI and have a conversation with it, being able to bounce your ideas back and forth with these tools has become so essential, not only to students all over the world that are doing research, but I myself have also experienced the benefits of that, because sometimes your own perspective is limiting.
Right.
You're stuck in it. You're in this box, and you can find new ways of thinking and maybe new ideas that come through because you just said something in a certain pattern that it's caught up on. But yeah, I love that the both of you are encouraging this among your students and encouraging the exploration. But I do want to kind of, we're running low on time. We're starting to kind of hit the end, but I do want to open up one last question to you two, because we started talking about the collaboration that you two have kind of partaken in to really develop your own knowledge of AI. And I wanted to ask both of you, what advice would you give to other faculty and other practitioners who are looking to explore AI, and how can collaboration help facilitate that exploration?
I guess I would take this one. So without a doubt, I think that meeting great people like Dr. Vaughan and just having someone to talk to, particularly outside of our college, I mean, within our college, but also outside our college. I've started attending the faculty playground, and it's amazing. Oh my gosh, I just appreciate all you all are doing there to help prepare us as faculty in the domain of AI. And then within research, it's interesting, and from a research standpoint, the variation not only in our student adoption of AI, but also among research colleagues and so forth that we have out there and their adoption of AI. I'm an adopter, not a native, as because of my age group. But I think that there's always something to learn and to collaborate. People with different levels and comfort of using AI is critical, without a doubt. And being collaborative also with our students, because our students come in with fresh perspectives on how to use AI and how they've used it in different classes or in their personal life. Because AI is going to touch every aspect of our lives going forward. So I think that collaboration is definitely key, from just trying to be inquisitive and curious and wanting to learn more of the use of AI. And I know I hear fear quite a bit, particularly in my age group, from people outside of academia. So allaying some of the fears that people may have, by providing them information rather than just the fear aspect of AI.
I don't know how much time we have for me to add
No,
on.
if you want to add on, we have time
be
for
conscious
that.
of time. Dr. Wilson reached out to me after one of these types of forums, and we've been able to go back and forth. And it's been, like she said, very eye-opening to hear about what the concerns are across the university in a different college, and for us to be in different places and to trade ideas back and forth. What we know about teachers, and all of us at the university who have classes are also teachers, is that they learn most from each other. Not as much from an article that they read, or not even a professional development they attend.
Yeah.
So we have to create spaces where we can talk to each other. And in higher ed, we can do that better.
Yeah.
And the AI playground, and we're both plugging it like we're getting paid here.
Right.
But the AI playground is a great space to come and do that, just to have conversations, because that's where you will learn and share, and be able to make those connections and just try like one new thing.
Absolutely,
that's
yeah.
it.
And I love that you both plugged it and kind of talked about that, and the collaborative aspect and the different scaffolding of comfort levels. It's all like really, it plays in a big role in our moving forward. Now, I did see we do have one question online, so we can definitely close on that. What have we got here?
Yeah, we have a question from Susan. She's asking, each one of your departments, are all faculty on board with AI in their courses?
I mean, I would venture to say no, although I haven't asked all faculty but again, there's a technology adoption spectrum. So I think, those who, if you're picturing it like a bell curve, I think those who are, in that first part of that bell curve are out there trying it, integrating it a little bit, and then there will be another wave, and then there will be another wave. If we look at how it compares to online teaching, the pandemic was the final jump off the cliff moment for everybody to figure out how to teach online. Until that point, there was still a large number of faculty who hadn't had that experience. Now we all know we can do it, whether we like it or not. It's a skill that we had to develop. And I feel like there might be an AI point sometime in the future where everyone will have to try it, whether they choose to keep it in their practice or not. That's fine. But I think it'll be used in varying ways.
Yeah. How about you, Dr. Wilson?
I have to totally echo that. I can't say for sure how my colleagues are adopting it, in what ways, but it's definitely a spectrum for sure. I would totally echo everything that you said.
Well, I would definitely love to echo what both of y'all said and say that through collaboration, that is how we navigate this spectrum of learning and developing our skill sets with AI.
Absolutely.
And with that, I would love to thank you both for joining me today. And thank you everyone who joined online. We hope to see you again in future AI, both Playground and Faculty Lounge live events. And to stay up to date, please, pay attention to the Tech Events calendar. That's where all of our events are, all the signups, and where you can get more information. And if you are out there and you're just touching on AI for the first time, please go to the FAU AI website, fau.edu/AI. It's a great place to get started, a great place to learn about resources, and we hope that that is the invitation for you to collaborate with us in the future.